Presently, ma'am is working with Teva Pharmaceutical Mumbai as a medical writing associate. So, on the behalf of Parikrama College of Pharmacy, I welcome Sujata ma'am, and I request her to please guide our student regarding the medical writing in clinical research.
Okay, shall we start now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
Is PPTR visible now on the screen? Presentation is okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for warm introduction. Actually, she is my friend and she has asked me so many times. Now the day has come. So first of all, I would like to thank your principal, sir, for giving me this opportunity to interact with your students. Then my friend Manisha for giving me this opportunity, and to the dear students who are listening there. So now, without wasting much time, I would like to start with my guest lecture. Please do not consider it as a guest lecture. You can think one among yourself only, and whatever experience I have in this medical writing, I will share with you. So I would like to introduce myself within 2 lines. Myself, Mrs. Sujata Rahul Khatal, now working as a medical writing associate at Teva Pharmaceuticals, which is located at Navi Mumbai. And previously, I was in Cytec Labs for around 4 years. Then at NM Nostrum Remedies Private Limited. Before that, I was in Ecotest Research Laboratory, which is the CRO. And before that, I was a lecturer at Amrutvine Institute of Pharmacy for the 2 years. So in the medical writing, now it's around 10 years I am in this field. Okay. So shall we start with the presentation?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, yes. The topic chosen is medical writing in clinical research. I will give the overview of how the medical writers work in the clinical research, and it will be the journey that how is the work going on in the clinical trials, how the medical writers do what they write. So it will just I will not go much in deep, otherwise it will be quite confusing to you as a student, but most of the point I have covered, that what is the role of medical writers in the clinical research. So let's start with the first slide. Slides are moving, no? Just confirm.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. See, in this picture, I have given the journey of clinical trials. That means phases. I think this may be in your syllabus, that different phases of clinical trials. Even in our time also, there was 4 phases of clinical trials. Whatever, one of my suggestion is that you do not pay much attention on the slides. You can see the slides and pay attention that what I am talking, because and imagine the things how the writers can do, how the job could be, so that it will be interesting for you. So see, the journey of clinical trials I have mentioned here. In a very first part, I have mentioned that discovery science. See, if any new drug is investigated by the sponsor, then the first phase is like their which is almost of the 6 to 5 to 6 years or more than that also. That is the discovery science. In that, first of all, they will do the studies in labs, whatever I have mentioned here, the studies in labs. Then there are preclinical studies which they are conducting on the animals like mice, rat, or there could be other animals also as per their requirement. So this first phase of the discovery science is the studies in lab. Then thereafter the preclinical trials, and then if any sponsor company has a proper data of the preclinical trial, they have the results that this drug uh, can be marketed in to the healthy or to the patient population for the particular disease. Then in that case, they have to first file for the investigational new drug application. In the pink box there I have mentioned that INDA. INDA is the investigational new drug application. So after doing the preclinical trials, they have to apply for the investigational new drug application. Then the phases are starting. Like see, before that phase, these phases I have mentioned phase 1, 2, 3, and phase 4. But in the very below part that of INDA, I have mentioned phase 0 also. Phase 0 is a I don't know whether you have heard or not, but the phase 0 is the micro dosing. It is also called as a micro dosing, and 10 to 15 participants are there in this phase 0. This phase is just for the exploratory purpose, that you are see, that drug as they have tested in the animals, but still there should be they don't have the results of safety of that drug, because as this is a new drug, so we can't predict that what could be the adverse event and what could be the safety profiling of that drug. So initially this phase 0, they are most of the companies are performing. It is like for the 10 to 15 participant to see the drug metabolism in the body, like whether that drug is metabolizing in the body or not, and if any safety concern is there, that also they can understood with this phase 0 trial. And lesser population is exposed to in this phase. So the considering safety, this is the phase 0 trial the companies are conducting. But the important phases are like phase 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now I would like proceed to phase 1 study. Phase 1 studies of the clinical trials, they are I mentioned there are 20 to 80 participants. There could be some deviation between these participants, but mostly that 20 to 80 participants are there, and healthy subjects are involved in this phase 1 trial, because we don't know the uh, efficacy, we don't know their safety, we don't know their what could be the adverse event, serious adverse event of that drug, as the drug is very new. That's why initially this lower number of population is there in this phase 1 trial, and these trials they are conducting on the healthy population. Exceptional are like for the cancer, any drug for the treatment of cancer, or any drug for example for antidepressant drug. In that case only they will include the patient population in this phase 1 trial. Then the next is phase 2 trial. Phase 2 trials are for evaluating the safety and the dosing procedure. uh, they for the evaluating of effectiveness of that drug, and to further evaluate the safety, because initially in phase 1 their number of population is less, but we are increasing the population. So considering that increased number of patients, they can know effectiveness of that particular drug. So these phase 2 trials are for the effectiveness and further evaluate the safety. And now from these phase 2 trials, the patients are included in that trial. There will not be any healthy population in this phase 2 trial. Then the next is phase 3. Phase 3 is to confirm the effectiveness. Now in a phase 2 trial, we get to know that what is the effectiveness of that drug. But still, to confirm the effectiveness, then to monitor side effects compared to other treatments also, like which are in the market for that particular disease. So the number of population in phase 3 trials is comparatively huge, like 300 to 3000 participants are there in this phase 3 trials. So for marketing, for application of this drug, they have to proceed from phase 1, 2, and 3 directly. They can't go for the phase 3. These are the initial stages, phase 1 and phase 2. It is mandatory to perform the phase 1 trials also, phase 2 also, then the phase 3, and the data of phase 3 trials only they have to submit to the regulatory authorities. So this phase, from phase 1 to phase 3, is the phase where the investigational new drug application they have done. Now the next step is, if they have proper data and they have a results of the phase 3 trials, then only they will proceed for the new drug application, where proper results of that phase 3 trials they will submit to the regulatory authority for the approval of that new drug. And after getting approval, the last phase is the phase 4. which is a post-approval surveillance, or you can say it as a post-marketing surveillance studies. And of course, after getting into the market, there's this there it is mandatory to provide the data to the regulatory authorities, because this after getting approval, the sponsor companies are not bothered about whether there are any safety concern of that drug, because now they got approval and they have to market it. But that's why the regulatory authorities has kept it mandatory to get a post approval surveillance data. I think for CDSCO it is for 4 years, it is mandatory to provide the data. Initially for the 2 years, it is at the 6 months interval they have to provide the data to the regulatory authorities, that after getting in a market, whether there are any safety concern of that drug. And all that is the PV part. See, this phase 4 post approval surveillance data they have to submit is the part of pharmacovigilance department, and they are providing that safety data as per their mandatory intervals. And based on that, if that drug is not safer in more population, because in post marketing surveillance that drug is means it is marketed in more than that 3000 population which was there in phase 3 trials. So now based on the person to person, there could be safety concern after, even after getting into the market. That's why this phase 4 trial, phase 4 data is also more important after getting into the market. So that safety data, after providing that data to the regulatory authority, if there are any adverse event, any serious concern is there regarding that drug, in that case that regulatory authority may withdraw that drug from the market also. So that's why this phase 4 trials, phase 4 is also important in the clinical trials. There I have mentioned that to get additional information after approval, and risk and benefit should be more rather than risk, so that they are evaluating in the phase 4 trials. So this is the journey of clinical trial, like from preclinical to the phase 4 trials. And there I have mentioned one trial which you may don't know, that phase 0 trial also. So now I will move to the next slide, and I will move to the actual part of the role of medical writers. There is one more phase 1 studies are also there, like BAB studies. BAB is the bioavailability bioequivalence studies. Mostly the pilot studies are they are calling it as a bioavailability studies. Pilot means with a lower population, and BE studies are the bioequivalence studies, which are the pivotal studies. Now, since these BAB studies are for marketing of generic drugs, which are these studies mostly we are conducting in India, these BAB studies. And in that, there is one already marketed drug is there, which is called as reference product. And they have to compare the, see, if any sponsor companies want to market their generic drug into the market, it is mandatory to compare that drug with the already marketed drug, which is called as reference product. And they have to compare it with their test product. Test product is the sponsor's product which they have developed for marketing, and they will compare it to the reference product. So these are also one kind of studies, BAB studies, which are also known as phase 1 studies. And specifically these studies are for the marketing of generic drugs. Now moving to the what is medical writing. Medical writing is the activity of writing scientific documents in a clear, concise, credible, and complete manner. Means what? Actually, the name is medical writing. Means writing documents, writing some documents for the related to medicine or related to medical field. So there are different types of medical writing. Whatever I will explain is the medical writing in clinical research. But I've given here the brief introduction that what is the medical writing. So medical writing is the activity of writing scientific document. You should have the scientific knowledge or the knowledge of medicine. So scientific documents in a clear, concise, credible, and complete manner. It should be complete also, and it should be clear and concise. There should not be any ambiguities while writing. Then it includes the writing of regulatory and research related documents. And then second is that disease or drug related educational or promotional literatures. I will explain it in next slide. Publication articles like journal, manuscript, and abstracts. Then content for healthcare websites, health related magazines or new articles. So writing includes these types of document, regulatory and research related documents, which we are writing. Then next is the disease or drug related educational material, also publications, content for healthcare websites, health related magazines. See here, I have mentioned the types of medical writing: the regulatory writing or the research related writing, which we are doing in a clinical research. Then there is one more type is medical communications documents, writing for the medical communication. See, one by one, in a regulatory writing, the documents are clinical study protocol, investigators brochure, then informed consent form, or you can say it as an informed consent document, case record form or case report form, clinical study report, regulatory document like package insert, prescribing information. I will explain these regulatory writing documents one by one. ECTD dossier preparation, patient narrative. So this is the role of medical writer in a clinical research. Whatever I have mentioned in the first box of that regulatory writing. Then the next is a medical communication document. So these are also the documents some medical writers are preparing. Medical journalism, for example, in a newspaper they are writing blogs, then magazine articles. In that they can write related to any cancer, any drug related to cancer, or any treatments related to cancer, or they can write about different diseases also. So this is the medical journalism. Then medical educational documents like different textbooks for the physician, medical students. Also there are some e-learning modules now, there was pandemic, so there are so many e-learning documents you may have also seen. So this e-learning modules they are writing. Then medical marketing for the healthcare products like promotional literature, training manual, internet content for the physician and patient. Then publication, in that journal articles, manuscript writing, abstract writing, different poster presentation. This is also the medical, this also comes under the medical writing. So this second part of that medical communication, mostly physicians are working there in that field, in the journalism or the educational writing or educational documents or the healthcare products information. Even though in this publication writing, our pharma professionals are also working in the publication writing, like writing a manuscript or abstract, and publication to the various reputed journals. See, for example, if any trial data is there, now they have result and they have to publish that data in any journal, then they can assist. As a pharma professional, we can assist to the physician in writing the manuscript or abstract or the any journal articles. So these are the two main types, like regulatory writing and medical communication writing. And I mentioned that we are doing the regulatory writing. So I will go one by one that what type of document we are preparing. Before that, I have mentioned here different stakeholders in the clinical trials. The stakeholders are sponsors, investigator, volunteers, then CRC. CRC means clinical research coordinator. CTA is the clinical trial assistant. CRA is the clinical research associate. Then medical writers, IC and IRB. This is in your syllabus or not, IC or IRB? Regulatory authorities. So these are the different stakeholders of the clinical trial. Now the sponsor is very important, because that sponsor only funding for that particular trial. They have to do the trial because they want to market their product in the market. So the sponsor is having a very vital role, because he is the owner of that product and he will fund to that particular trial site or that CRO for conducting their trial. So this is one of the stakeholder. Investigators are the physicians who are mainly who are the MBBS or MD Pharmac or MD in different discipline also. So these are the investigators volunteers or the patient who will be participating in the study. Because of them, we can't do any study, because we have to test our product to the volunteers or the patient. The CRC, CTA, CRA. One thing I want to mention, that in my presentation I have mentioned different roles in the clinical trials, and in last I will ask that which different kind of job profiles in the clinical trials. So you will tell me in the last that which are the different roles you can even you can work in future in a clinical trials. Okay, so now I'm here that the CRC, CTA or CRA. So CRC are the clinical research coordinator, which are the pharma professionals. CTA is the clinical trial assistant. Now CRC are mainly in the hospitals, and they are coordinating in between sponsor and investigator, because as the trials are multi-centric trials, they are conducting it in more than one site. So in different sites, they have to appoint a CRC who will be the point of contact and who can provide the documents required for the investigator also and to the sponsor also. So this is one of the role, that CRC, clinical research coordinator. Then CTA mostly they sit in the offices, clinical trial assistant. What they are doing is they are maintaining the different documents, because whatever the documents they are receiving from the different sites, the document compilation is also one of the important part. And side by side they are learning that how the trial procedure they are conducting. So CTA are the clinical trial assistant, maintaining the documentation of the different sites, because the trial is not conducting in a one site. There are different, more than 5 sites, more than it is as per the requirement of that study. So they are maintaining the document. Then CRA is the clinical research associate. They plays a very important role, like right from site selection and right from different agreement, maintaining different agreements. Then they have to go for the monitoring to the different sites where the trial is conducting. So these are the three important personnel who are involved during conduction of trial: CRC, CTA, and CRA. Then the next is medical writers, which I will be explaining. Then IC and IRB. So medical writers, after preparation of protocol, they have to submit their this protocol to the IC or IRB, because these IC and IRB are the independent bodies, and they are their main role is to see the safety and well-being of that participated subject or volunteers, and they have to look in a like third party manner, and they will see that whether this patient population they are including in the study, but is there any harm that or is there any precautions they are not taking, like investigator or sponsor are not bother about that patient safety. In that case, they can ask the queries, or they can suggest some changes in the protocol also. So after preparation of protocol by the medical writer, we have to submit that document to the IC. It is mandatory, and because their approval is mandatory. After IC approval, we have to submit that in India, if they have to conduct the trial, then they have to we have to get the approval of that CDSCO, or we can call it as DCGI. So DCGI, Drug Control General of India. So from there, they will we have to submit the document, IC approved documents, to the DCGI also, and after their approval only we can conduct the study. So this is and then after completing, like regulatory authorities means, I want to say that we have to submit that documents to the CDSA or the DCGI. So these are the different stakeholders.
Madam, sorry for interrupt. I have shared a new link. Kindly join that. As this time.
New link I have to join.
Yeah. And
So I have to leave this meeting, no?
Yes.